Wel, bore da, chroeso mawr I bawb i'r sesiwn arbennig am rwydweithiau cyfrifyd eang yn yr Unol Daleithiau. Good morning to you all and a warm welcome to this session entitled Building Sustainable Networks in the USA, a case study on increasing recruitment and profile. It is a real pleasure to be chairing a session with an international panel to look at the engagement Global Wales has had with the United States specifically, and to explore how the good work that has been done so far can be amplified and developed in the future. For this session, we're joined by colleagues from both sides of the Atlantic to discuss their experience of how working in partnership to build networks can increase recruitment and profile. Of course, we would like this to be an interactive session, so please do share your thoughts and questions on the chat function. Our speakers will give short presentations, and towards the end, we'll have around 20 minutes for a Q&A session. So feel free to raise your hand or to post your questions, and we'll try to answer as many as possible. If you're not a dinosaur like I am and you do Twitter, the hashtag is #GW21, and please tag us at Wales_global. As a preamble to this session, please allow me to go back in time to 2015, when the Global Wales Partnership was established by the four partners, Universities Wales, British Council Wales, the Welsh Government, and the Higher Education Funding Council for Wales, or HEFCO. At that time, the partnership had a very limited budget, and it started as a 3-year pilot to find ways for Welsh higher education institutions to make a greater impact at the international level. Now, one of the first projects undertaken by Global Wales was to commission a piece of research to identify which countries were going to be the priority for engagement. It came as no surprise that on the top of the list there was the United States of America, a country where the Welsh sector felt there could be greater impact, a higher level of awareness about Wales, and also a more coordinated approach with the Welsh Government, for whom the United States has always been a priority country. So from the modest beginnings, promoting the Study in Wales brand in fairs like NAFSA and NACAC, Global Wales activity has grown exponentially to include building and sustaining a network of counsellors, Gilman and Fulbright scholarships, and even work with alumni networks. It is rewarding to hear from Welsh higher education institutions that recruitment from the USA has increased significantly. I wouldn't hesitate to attribute this to the continued efforts of Global Wales to put Wales on the radar in the USA. And I have to mention Maggie Park, who is on maternity leave at the moment, for all the amazing work that she has done in the past few years and that is going to continue in the future. But enough from me and my historical background. We now have the opportunity to hear different perspectives on this success story from our panelists. So it is a pleasure to introduce Joanne Hopkins, International Regional Head of Recruitment for the Americas and Europe at Swansea University, Daphne Adler, Guidance Counselor at Los Altos, California, Lindsay Calvert, lead of the IIE network, that's the Institute for International Education, and finally, Zoe Hay, Head of North American Network for the Welsh Government in the USA office. So over to you, Joanne, to share your perspective on the Global Wales work in the United States.
Thank you very much, Walter. So actively engaging through the Global Wales brand, Study in Wales in the US, has been really beneficial to the university. That it has allowed Swansea, along with all the other Welsh institutions, to have a collaborative approach to promoting Wales as a destination for study in the first instance, and then to allow us to highlight the specific opportunities at each university second. So through this collaborative approach, we have been able to reach a wider audience across the US And also we've been able to participate in the creation of resources that help to promote higher education in Wales to the US audience. So some of the key highlights from a university perspective and involvement both in person and virtual events have been things like the annual US Councillor Tour. So each university either being able to host that visit to campus or take part in presenting their offering to that group of councillors. And this has been updated to an advisor toolkit this year. So we're still able to access and reach out and share that promotion with councillors in the US. We have virtual Wales Wednesdays, so a weekly drop-in session that runs during term time that allows advisors and students to drop in. And some will be those that actively engage with us a lot and they have a particular student that they want support with. Others are accessing that event to find out about Wales for the first time. We promote at national conferences. So you mentioned the likes of NACAC and NAFSA, also things like UCAS. And these are speaker sessions where possible to promote Wales as a study destination. We create a series of webinars that have been used for councillors, and they can be used in short sessions. So about particular programs, about the differences between studying in Wales and the US. It could be university specific or support that's available across all Welsh universities and how students and councillors can access that. So really just trying to promote everything that is on offer. We also have regular newsletters that we can contribute to as universities. So it showcases each university. It highlights those webinars that have been pre-recorded, but it also allows universities to promote any virtual events that we have upcoming. So things like the virtual open days this year. We also organised a Study in Wales specific virtual fair back in November, and that was better attended than some of the major events that happened across the US because the collaboration that we have with the councillor network, that they were able to really engage and promote that on our behalf. So that was really fantastic. We have supported virtual events, and with this, I suppose it's sharing that knowledge between the other universities on the network to be able to help to make sure that we're all accessing the events that are working best and doing joint events. So like the British Council USA week back in February, where we had a Study in Wales focus, but then key highlight from each of the Welsh universities as well. And then the ability to host Gilman and Fulbright scholars, that's a great honor for all of the universities to be part of those programs. And one of the things that Swansea has really joined in on is the Common Application System. So through support with Global Wales, we were able to join the Common Application System to make it easier for US students to apply to study at Swansea. But we're now in a position where we can support the other Welsh universities that want to know more about this programme to help them navigate through that system. And really the insight and feedback from market changes. So for example, to testing, that Global Wales were able to support all of the Welsh universities to access the same information to ensure that we were able to update our entry guidance as necessary, depending on the changes that took place. And so much has changed over the course of the past year that one of the key things I wanted to touch on was just when we were able to do things in person, that the collaborative approach shone through. So for example, we went as a group of different universities to events and we were able to have a Wales section at the fair. So councillors and students and advisors were able to know straight away that they were in a section of the fair where we cared and we were referring students to other universities. So where we didn't have a program that somebody was interested in, we were able to say, well, actually, no, if you just turn around, the university behind you offers that program. We were able to do wraparound events. So things like councillor breakfasts to give them the updates about Welsh universities, and then evening presentations for students and parents. And these were organised through our councillor network. So really just being able to make the most of every activity that we do to promote Wales. And that for us, that being able to promote Wales and to work together collaboratively, that this approach really helps to benefit all of the universities in Wales. And it allows us to have a wider presence at a larger number of events and really to share that market intelligence with, and usually for the US, that it has a minimal budget and resource allocated towards recruitment for Welsh universities. So from a university perspective, for recruiting in the US, this collaborative approach works really well. And we are extremely grateful to all at Global Wales for their continued support with this activity.
Thank you very much, Joanne. I think what you've said about how the initiative has impacted Swansea's strategy is true of many of the other Welsh higher education institutions. But let us now turn to a perspective from the other side of the Atlantic. And Daphne Adler, if you could share your thoughts with us, we'll be really grateful. Thank you very much.
Sure, I would love to. First of all, I'm honored to be here, so thank you for having me as part of this event. So I am a public high school counselor in the San Francisco Bay Area / Silicon Valley, and I also do private university counseling. So I work with a variety of students, and my interaction with Wales has been really fantastic and transformative to my counseling practice. In that, I attended the Wales Counselor Tour in 2019 with the aforementioned Maggie Park. We've done a lot of work together, and that week or so that I spent in Wales was so, first of all, informative, secondly, magical for me to experience the amazingness of Wales, and just really fascinating to learn about the different universities and the different cities and towns and landscapes and experiences that students can have. In the US, international education in general is not super high profile. It's something that I'm particularly passionate about, so I've tried to learn as much as I can, and Wales has been a big part of that. And I cannot overstate the importance of the counselor tours, because when you bring a group of high school counselors to the universities, we are able to bring back a ton of information and insight to our schools and reach a lot of families. Initially, for most people, it's like kind of this big, scary, ambiguous idea of studying internationally. You know, people know about studying abroad in terms of a semester or a year, but to do their whole degree is quite a foreign idea. And it seems like it's going to be very expensive and just really ambiguous and unknown, and people don't even know where to start. And so when I can come back from the tour and tell them, actually, it's very affordable and approachable, 100%, doable if it's what a student wants to do. And it's a wonderful way for students to also step off of the highly competitive admission track in the US, which is a whole other conversation, for them to know that this is a pathway that's going to be, frankly, life-changing for them. It is an amazing thing to be able to share. And so when I can come back and let them know that this is totally doable, and here are the details, and here's the process, it is so, so helpful. Maggie Park has been really indispensable as a contact. Not only did I go on the tour with her, but she has also come to my school pre-pandemic in person to do an event for me. And then last year we did a huge International University Month event in October with a series of webinars. And she presented not only on Wales specifically, but also as part of a UK team to teach our students about UCAS. That's one of the pieces that's really a bit of a mystery for students, is like, okay, this all sounds great. How do I do it? How do I apply? And so it was great to have Wales well represented on a team of advisors to connect with students and help them understand how they would even apply to the different universities in Wales and the UK. So going forward, I'm really looking forward to continuing this partnership and sending students to Wales. It's just such a wonderful place, and helping students to identify themselves as someone who would do well with that type of experience is really terrific. So I really very much appreciate being part of this team and look forward to continuing that. So thank you.
It's great to have you as a member of the Team Wales stroke USA. So thank you very much for your presentation and for sharing that passion for international experiences, which are so fundamental and life transforming, as you said. Let's stay on the other side of the Atlantic. And let's bring Lindsay Calvert in to share her perspective from the IIE, please.
Yes, hi everyone. Thank you so much. I'm also honored to be invited and to participate in this conference and session. I'm Lindsay Calvert. I lead our IIE network. This is our membership network, but I'm also pleased to share more about IIE and our work and how to utilize IIE's larger networks. So next slide, please. So for those who might not be familiar with IIE, the Institute of International Education, we are a nonprofit organization with over 100 years of being a world leader in international education and exchange. We aim to promote peace and an equitable world. We have a global presence with over 17 offices and affiliates around the world with our headquarters in New York City. And when I think about sustainability of networks, I think about intentionality. And this is exactly what we do at IIE. We want to help support through collaboration, the support of common goals and interests through international education and exchange, to provide resources, services, and benefits, especially to our members. And so I'm pleased to share more about the IIE network, which Universities Wales just recently joined to support Global Wales, and additional networks and services that we offer. So next slide, please. So the IIE network, we have provided our global membership network for several decades. It is something that we do to support institutions and organizations with international education strategies and goals. It consists of over 1,500 institutions and universities and organizations worldwide, and that connects over 10,000 professionals to IIE's leadership, expertise, resources, services, events, and additional opportunities that may arise. So our membership serves on an institutional or organizational basis, but it also does extend to support staff, faculty, and students in a variety of ways. We have a number of member benefits. If we could go to the next slide. This more specifically includes access to key publications, weekly communications, exclusive student funding initiatives, discounts on events and services, and the opportunity to engage with members and partners of IIE. And for those seeking to internationalize campuses, we have programs and services that attract and welcome international students, expand study abroad opportunities, and establish international partnerships for academic exchange and research. So in addition to these member benefits, we have been identifying ways to really enhance the network and the offerings that we have for our network members. And we initiated this last year with some new programming through exclusive webinars for our members, exclusive publications as well, and that we're looking to continue these enhancements, especially as we try to bring more ways to facilitate partnerships and opportunities to connect our network members. So next slide, please. Our IIE network supports in many ways, and considering many of our members are aiming to increase student recruitment as well as their profile and visibility, we have focused more recently on some really key services. So our IIE Global Outreach Services, as well as research, data, and analytics, we can provide custom services and reporting through our business development and research and evaluation learning teams. And one of the things that we recently started in this last few months through our engagement series of webinars and online discussions is a member exclusive webinar topic called Think International, Act Local. And these webinars have focused on ways to engage specifically with IIE's heads of our international offices and the leads of our research departments so that we can share our expertise in outreach in certain countries and regions, as well as understanding the trends and data that support recruitment of students, as well as reaching out and building partnerships. So recently, we also partnered with Butex to share student mobility and partnership information among our US and UK members. So we're so very open to finding ways to collaborate with our members to bring awareness to the work that IIE does in collaboration with these members. In addition to increasing our members' profiles, we have a variety of ways in which we do that for visibility and awareness of the great work through international education, exchange, and other collaborative partnership areas. So we invite our members to contribute to areas of thought leadership, such as our engagement series of webinars, being part of being speakers in our webinars, participating in contributing articles and thought leadership pieces through our member voices briefing series and briefing papers. We have a biannual IIE Network magazine, which we produce 2 times a year. So this is an opportunity for our members and friends of IIE to contribute articles as well based on the themes of that issue. As you can see here, last theme for the spring was the Global Voices issue. So we do welcome voices from all over the world. We currently have a call out for submissions related to the theme of the international education profession, the evolution of it and where we see it going. So again, we welcome those participants to share and contribute to that, as well as our IIE Opening Minds blog to potentially be a guest writer. So we have a global audience, and we welcome our members and partners to contribute to those. And we promote and bring awareness of activities, opportunities, resources from our members through our IIE interactive content. This is our weekly newsletter. We have discounts as well for members to contribute their advertising to different various prints and online publications as well. Again, trying to reach a global audience, especially to our US audience, which is a predominant amount of our members. So next slide, please. In addition to our IIE Network membership, we have a number of other networks and areas of support. Some of you may be familiar with our Generation Study Abroad initiative. It was a 5-year initiative to increase and diversify US students studying abroad. And with that, we had over 800 partners around the world, including colleges and universities, education associations, organizations, and country partners who pledged their commitment and strategic actions toward our common goal. And British Council was a country partner for the UK. We have a variety of partners who remain committed to increasing study abroad for US students. And so those partners remain on our website to know that they have committed to this initiative and that many have become IIE Network members as well. So there's continued action and interest to find ways to increase US student mobility. We also have our impact report. So that has examples of some successful partners and ways in which they had reached their goals in increasing and diversifying US students study abroad and partnerships amongst the network members. In addition, we have our IIE Scholar Rescue Fund Alliance that supports scholar mobility and international research and teaching. So for a more expansive international education strategy at various campuses, there's a way to partner with our SRF Alliance to help support threatened and displaced scholars with support such as temporary academic positions, professional development, and career advancement opportunities, and other critical assistance. That recently launched last year, and they continue to welcome individuals and institutions and organizations to join the Alliance. And in addition to that, we have a very focused student mobility program on engineering academics. And so Global E3, Global Engineering Education Exchange, in terms of recognizing a growing demand for internationally experienced engineering graduates, a group of leading universities around the world established Global E3 in 1995. And this allows for member universities to provide study abroad experiences specific to their engineering students. And so it really encourages this group of students who may not typically have the access to study abroad do so through this international consortium of universities. And lastly, IIE Center for International Partnerships. This is an excellent opportunity to work closely with IIE and our thought leadership in strategic academic partnership building to leverage our vast network of international institutions and government partners. We have a variety of programs and services through our Center for International Partnerships, including delegations through our International Academic Partnership Program, and as well as workshops that are virtual and in person. So there's a lot I could cover, and I don't want to hog all the time, and I'm happy to speak more about this during our discussion. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Lindsay. It's really exciting that Wales is part of the IIE network, and I'm sure there's more to come, and hopefully we'll be able to speak more about the opportunities in the Q&A session. And let's finally go back to the final speaker. This is about bridging both sides of the Atlantic. Zoe Hay, representing the Welsh government based in the USA. Could you please share your thoughts about this special relationship between Global Wales and the United States, please?
Thanks, Walter, and thanks to Global Wales for the invitation to speak today. I'm Zoe Hay. I'm recently appointed as the new head of the North American Network for Welsh Government. I just wanted to briefly outline the importance to Welsh Government of building sustaining alumni networks within the USA. Obviously talk about some of the activity we undertake with Global Wales and others to deliver this, and then finish with a bit about sort of the future focus of our activity as we come out of the pandemic. As Walter mentioned, I lead a team based in Welsh Government offices across the United States, including Washington, DC, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, and San Francisco. Still in North America, we also have an office in Canada, headed up by Andrew Wagstaff in Montreal. One of the key functions of all offices is to create and sustain a strong Welsh diaspora network across North America. So as set out in our action plan for diaspora engagement, Welsh Government has long recognised the potential of these networks in making us more competitive and well known on the global stage. So within this, Welsh alumni are an important part of the diaspora community. So we know that those who have studied in Wales often develop a deep affinity for our country, while in Wales, they culturally enrich the communities that they join. And then when they return home, they become some of our strongest advocates. Likewise, those who go from Wales to study abroad further raise Wales's global profile. In addition to the transformative experience of living in another country, while in America, they will form international connections and networks that can last a lifetime, further strengthening the links between Wales and the USA. All of this activity serves to raise Wales's profile on the world stage and strengthen its international presence and its impact. It also provides profound and tangible benefits for the people of Wales who are able to participate in these international opportunities. Therefore, we are keen to continue to build and sustain Welsh American alumni networks. The North America team works closely with Global Wales, and we have regular meetings, first with Maggie and now with Rob, to discuss the creation of new opportunities and also where we can support each other in undertaking US-based activity. So some examples include collaborating on alumni events, working with Global Wales on potential research topics that can inform the expansion of activity, and also leveraging our own network to facilitate the development of further exchange partnerships. In addition, my team, in their wider trade and invest work, actively seek out opportunities to promote Welsh universities and their expertise to our American partners. So, in terms of a future focus, coming out of the pandemic, the Welsh Government is determined to build a stronger, greener and fairer future for all of its citizens. The First Minister has often used the phrase, "No one held back and no one left behind." With international educational partnerships and through the development of international networks, we have a huge opportunity to provide transformational experiences for the citizens of Wales, but they must be available to people from all backgrounds and at all levels, regardless of financial hardships or personal circumstances. So given this, a particular focus for myself and the team in North America over the coming years, working alongside our partners in Global Wales, will be to ensure that we are building and creating networks which are ultimately accessible to all. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Zoe. And thank you to all the other panelists for your contribution. We have some minutes for questions from the audience, so please post those on the chat function. And while we wait for the questions to appear, could I ask you, Zoe, it is very interesting that education is such a valuable asset for the Welsh Government in its USA office, but do you think that there is room for having an approach that brings together, and I'm speaking with my British Council hat on, brings together perhaps cultural assets as well as trade and invest and education and alumni networks and diaspora engagement? Have you had a chance to give any thought to have a combined approach to engagement with the USA or Canada for that matter?
Yes, and sorry, in picking out the sort of diaspora element, that's very much an element of a combined work of the offices. So we don't approach it separately. It's a very holistic approach. And So there's trade and invest focus to the offices, there's cultural soft powers. It's all set out in our international strategy. It talks about these 3 strands and how they work together. So I'm going to do it justice in an answer here. But yes, it's very much a holistic approach to raising Wales' profile across the piece.
That's great. That's excellent. And that's the type of approach that will render greater benefits. And I think, unfortunately, we can't be in the parallel session, but the work undertaken by the Global Wales Partnership in Vietnam has been great in that aspect of bringing together different actors from the sector to have a system-to-system approach to engagement. Can I turn now to Lindsay, if you don't mind? It is fascinating. I mean, the broad spectrum of opportunities that the IIE network offers to Wales. What would your advice be for us in Wales to make the most of developing networks in the USA? What would be the things we need to bear in mind to engage properly and effectively?
Certainly. Yeah, thank you. So I was just thinking of this areas of connection and partnership, especially with US networks, institutions, and organizations. Some of the key things that we often find, and of course that IIE is driving and supporting, is awareness. And I think fellow panelists mentioned this before, like having partners like Daphna and Joanne, who are really critical in sharing the information and on a personal level with the students and families. That is critical to reaching these students and their support networks as well. And then access, creating the various ways that might look for different kinds of students. As many of you may know, especially US students come from a variety of backgrounds and have a variety of reasons for studying or not studying in another country, as I think Daphna had mentioned as well. And so really identifying the partners that can help build the communication channels to help facilitate accessibility as well, and to think about innovative ways to create accessibility for these students and their families, essentially to support them in participating in whatever type of exchange that might be, or program that might be, whether it's short-term or long-term. And oftentimes we find, I think, that the short-term leads to longer-term, and I think maybe many of us are alumni and veterans of that kind of experience. I myself started in high school on a short-term volunteer program or service learning program, and that really sparked my interest for long-term in college and university, and obviously through my career. So I think we all know that reaching students at a variety of levels can really help them engage in at least one time or multiple times in exchanges and programs abroad. And then research and academic collaborations as well. We think directly of students, but think about the faculty and the staff that have the ability to engage in these experiences as well, and how that then also promotes the study and the academics through their teaching, through their counseling. There's just a number of ways that can share this information to the students and from their own experiences, and or building their own programs as well that supports these students to go abroad. So just a few, but many multifaceted ways to do so. Yeah.
No, that's really valuable. And I think among the many things that we share is the aim of getting more of our students in the UK, in Wales in particular, but also in the US, to be more open-minded to international experiences. And that's a number that we really want to raise. And hopefully with the new ILE program, we'll be in a good position to achieve that aim in the long term, and by working effectively with you in the US, of course. Daphna, I was thinking that at the beginning, I referred to this partnership approach that we have in Global Wales. And in your experience, because I'm sure you've liaised with multiple stakeholders from around the world to promote study opportunities in the US, but do you think there is something different or something particular about the Welsh approach, or this Team Wales approach, that you perhaps could share with us?
I think that the level of personalization with the Wales team has been really special. I do have good relationships with people at different universities in other countries, but I feel that it's been so personal and like really it's been demystified really nicely by Maggie and other people that I have interfaced with, including Joanne too. So that is really helpful, because in trying to send an 18-year-old that far away, and especially, you know, I'm on the West Coast, so that's a big sell. It's twice the distance from the East Coast. So as a counselor, I need to be able to assure the parents that I work with that their child is going to be safe that far away. And so to have the personal relationships is really, really valuable. Does that answer your question?
It does. It does. I'm
Yep.
very glad to hear that.
Right. And if I could also piggyback on something that Lindsay said, Lindsay, you talked a lot about accessibility, and another angle that I think would be really important for the team to play up is the affordability. And so from my school, we have a really interesting population where we have very, very wealthy families that can easily just write a check for whatever the tuition is at any university anywhere. And we have very poor families that, you know, it's like for their first generation college students, they don't have the money and they need the university to make up the difference in need, and everything in the middle. But that middle population gets a little bit lost because they tend not to qualify for American financial aid, and yet their parents cannot write a check. And so they're kind of stuck with not as many options. And this is such a wonderful opportunity for them. So, you know, first of all, they do need to be the right student to want to go abroad and to be able to adapt and all of that. So given, you know, if that part's already established, it's really important to help people understand how affordable it is, and that it's a wonderful middle of the road option in terms of accessibility from the financial perspective.
Great. It's good to hear that all those messages resonate with an audience in the US, but I think that we share some of those challenges as well in getting young people to venture overseas. And if I may turn to Joanne now, in the UK and in Wales, of course, we're experiencing lots of difficulties and challenges because of COVID-19, as everyone else around the world, but Brexit as well, and maintaining and sustaining networks. So could you perhaps reflect on how the Global Wales work is helping your organization, and how it may help Swansea University and perhaps the rest of the Welsh sector in the future as we face these enormous challenges, but also, as we've been hearing, the manifold opportunities that are within reach of all of us?
Yeah, sure. I think for all of the universities that, you know, that we have, or meetings that we meet up on a regular basis to go through things, to go through virtual events, to go through what's coming up next. And ultimately what comes out of all of those meetings is that we appreciate the collaborative approach. I think that's for the Welsh universities, especially for the market like the US, that it is that collaborative approach, so that we are all at as many events as possible when we're under the Global Wales banner, that we are reaching a lot more different activities, different events. And also that having the support of Maggie and of Rob to be able to have the Study in Wales focused events, so where we may not have the resources or abilities to be everywhere at once, that knowing that having that overall perspective and that kind of collaborative approach means that we all benefit. And going forward, that there is ongoing discussions within the kind of Study in Wales group about what the next elements of focus will be for that Global Wales agenda. And that, Daphne, the feedback that you're given about that middle group of students, that's definitely a group of students that we want to target more, and that we want to get that information out there. And part of the work that we've done this year has been the webinar series, and it does touch on affordability, it touches on scholarships, it touches on also the access to disability support, and that kind of difference between asking about a disability in order to provide support for students as opposed to judging them for it. And it just really highlighting those differences and the opportunities that are available, that I think that there's room for great growth for all of the Welsh universities in the coming years through this network.
Great, excellent. Thank you very much, Joanne. Now, this is a time when in a normal face-to-face meeting, we would be waiting for lunch to happen and we would be chatting, socializing and having informal conversations. Alas, that's not the reality today, but at least we are able to bring together a wonderful panel of speakers from different parts of the world. So I really want to say thank you very much, Zoe, Lindsay, Daphne and Joanne, for your contributions. It's been great to have this session focusing on the great work that has been happening in the USA and to think forward on how we can improve and amplify what has already happened. Now, the conference is not yet over. We're breaking for lunch now. We will be back at 1 p.m. UK time, and I hope you'll be able to join us for the afternoon session entitled Working Together, Partnerships in Practice. There'll be people talking about Global Wales scholarships, partners from Chevening, Fulbright, Gilman, and the British Council to discuss the positive outcomes of strategic scholarships partnerships. Thank you very much to the organizers of the conference for the technical support. You've all been brilliant. Thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing some of you later in the session. Diolch yn fawr iawn a phob hwyl. Thank you very much.